What's up, everybody? Laura Sanko here for Quick Hits presented by Howlerhead. This is how big of a fan this guy is, okay? First of all, we all know who he is. He didn't even need a last name. Steve-O, of course. He's early, all right? The big deal, celebrity fans don't come early. Steve-O is a real fan, and, you know, we can do the interview facing the fight if you want. We genuinely can. I mean, they're not going to mind. Listen, how are you enjoying these fights so far?
I love it. Man, I almost thought we had a new record for the fastest knockout ever. It was the fastest knockout in the lightweight division, and it was fantastic.
Were you familiar at all with Terrence McKinney before 20 minutes ago?
I was not. That was his debut, so presumably it came from the Contender Series.
Well, he was on the Contender Series, but he actually lost on the Contender Series. He's been fighting in the LFA. That was his fourth first-round knockout in a row. Incredible.
Wow. Congrats. I love it. And then he jumps off the cage, and that's
something
not...
you would do. That's something you would do.
Absolutely something I've always done, but it's not the way to impress the boss. Dana does not like the jump off the cage business. He said it. How many times does Dana have to say it? Stop it with the jump off the fence business.
I know. There needs to be some sort of formal letter that goes out. No, and then the Johnny Walker with the worm and he
right.
his shoulder.
I remember it well. You know, getting carried out of the octagon after such a stunning victory because you jumped off the fence bad.
Yeah.
Like, stop it with that.
It's no fun. It's just stop. But an incredible win. You can't take that away from him.
Can't take that away. I loved it. I tweeted about it, like, in real time, and I had to open up my Fight Pass app on my phone to make sure that the tweet made it onto the screen because that means so much to me.
Can I be honest with you? It means something to everyone. I've only made it on once. I see you on there all the time.
I am so unreasonably satisfied when I see my tweets on the screen.
Do you know who Rob Tatum is? Because I know you know the name.
Of
Do you
course.
know Rob?
I don't know. I just know him by tweets.
No, he's a guy in Colorado. He works with Invicta.
Okay.
He doesn't even work in the UFC at all. And that guy gets every single one of his tweets up there.
I know. I think it was a really genius move on the part of the UFC to introduce that because you've got so many people with huge followings tweeting and tweeting and tweeting. I mean, what companies pay to get like social media posts is a lot, and the UFC is getting like all of it for free. It's great.
It's nice to know that you're human enough that you care about it too.
Yeah, that I can admit it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and the sad truth is that there have been times when I tweeted and it didn't go on the screen, and I was just devastated.
Mad. I get mad.
I
made a really good point.
Not mad, like heartbroken.
I know your fiance is over here like, yep, he's devastated. It's a rough night after his tweet doesn't make it on the broadcast.
But as far as coming, we don't ever want to miss a fight, like period, ever. And I'll never forget the pay-per-view in Dallas. It was Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. And my girl and I showed up for the very first Fight Pass prelim. And the arena was essentially empty except for my girl, me, and Anthony Kiedis, frontman of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I remember sitting down next to Anthony Kiedis and thinking, okay, like, keep yourself under control. Don't be annoying. Just let the guy sit there and be cool. And the way it played out, he's such a huge fan of fighting. Like, he's like talking to me, what do you think about this? Like, I'm like, well, let me tell you. And it just turned into us sitting next to each other, just talking about fighting and having the greatest time for 6 straight hours. Like, we're both sober guys, but we were partying. Yeah.
Partying on life, high on fights. I love it. He is a huge fan. He showed up to Contender Series one time. I mean, no one shows up to Contender Series.
I did. I showed up to Contender.
I know you did. I know. Anyway, so
I love the Contender Series.
I mean, I love it too. I'm a little partial to it. Let's talk about these fights tonight because I know you are a highly educated fan. We've talked about fights before, so I want to run through the top 3. Main event, Israel Adesanya defending his middleweight belt against Marvin Vettori. A rematch. 3 years later, though, Marvin has evolved. Izzy's defended his belt a bunch of times. There's that whole narrative about now we know how to beat Izzy. What do you make of this fight?
All right. We're talking about the main event. Last I saw, it was minus 260, Izzy favorite.
Yep.
Okay. I have to temper everything I'm about to say with the caveat that because Israel Adesanya follows me on Instagram, that I am squarely in his favor.
Should be minus 600 based on that alone.
Right. I mean, I can't root against Izzy because I'm like that, you know. I have a very fragile ego, and when people stroke it, like, you know, in any way, whether they know it or not.
Well, I'm a huge fan, by the way. Huge fan.
Thank you. Now, with that said, objectively speaking, I think that's a pretty wide line.
Yeah.
You know, like
Listen, I'll say there's value on Marvin. There's value on Marvin Vettori.
I know. It's going to come out. Like, I have no filter. I think it's a good bet to bet on Vettori for that. With that.
What? Traitor! You're a traitor! Oh my god! I'm just kidding.
I mean, that's just objectively. I mean, now I'm all like, oh, what did I do? What did I do?
I was just kidding.
It's all the time I say things, and then I'm like, why did I say that?
You have to look at both sides of the coin, right?
Right. I mean, but like, I think when I say that line is too wide, I think that I think the odds makers have made Izzy too much of a favorite. I think it's a closer fight than that. That's my way of saying I think that is going to be an explosively exciting fight.
I completely agree. And the co-main event, same thing, another rematch, and the best flyweight fight in history.
Still on the main event, though. Let's talk about how Israel Adesanya shows up to the scales 183.5.
That's not unusual for him, though.
I know. It just speaks volumes, particularly after his last fight.
Yes.
Because, you know, everyone who's cutting weight, they make their weight, and then by the time they step in the octagon, they've put on another 20 pounds. Put back on 20 pounds.
Yeah.
So, a guy with, like, the ability to take down Izzy, even 3 years ago we saw that, who weighs a whole lot more. And we saw what happened with Jan Blachowicz and Izzy in his last fight.
I feel like...
I'm just saying, object. From an analytical perspective, I think we have a very exciting, very close fight.
I 100% agree with you. Okay, let's talk co-main event. Let's talk co-main event.
Co-main.
Best flyweight fight in the history. Are we going to see a repeat of that or something different?
Best flyweight fight in history. Was it 2020?
Last year, last December.
So that's what they said. If it wasn't for Joanna Jędrzejczyk, then that would have been the fight of the year. But they gave fight of the year to Joanna and Zhang Weili. Okay. It's just that Moreno is so likable. Not that Davis and Figueiredo isn't likable. He's like just like this like loose cannon, kind of like what it's like. What's going on?
He's a hairdresser and he rides like water buffalo and I mean not a water. I think it's a bull of some sort, but
he's really tough to get a read on. But then there was the what was it? The weigh-in, the face-off, and like there was like a push, and it was like just like, what was that? Like what even was that? And I don't know. I mean, I love them both. I love the fight. But I just sometimes there's a subjective thing about someone's personality that steers me, and it's pushing me towards Moreno.
Does he follow you on Instagram?
No, I don't know. He might.
Well, you should look. You should look. That might tip the scales.
It really might. What's the line on that one? Like Moreno's a slight underdog?
Yeah, it's they're closer.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about the fight.
Okay.
Like the first ever 5-round non-main event, non-championship bout. I understand that everybody thinks that Leon Edwards is gonna walk right through Nate Diaz. I understand that, but that's a fucking huge. Those are way big odds. I mean, they're like my girl. Like, she grew up largely in Stockton, right?
209 represent. I get it.
Yeah. She
just goes, he claims it harder than I do, but whatever, you know.
So my problem with that fight has nothing. Oh, sorry.
Get back here.
My problem with the Nate Diaz and Leon Edwards is, and I'm talking trash right here, but my problem with Leon Edwards is the way that eye poke situation went down. I mean, eye pokes are accidental, I get it. But I think that the right thing to do would have been to say, hey man, you absolutely should
run it back.
Run it back. You know, like he was winning the fight, so it's not like there was a great risk in running it back. And it would have been like, in my view, a respectful, integrity move. And he didn't do that. And he kind of like, I just think that he wasn't appropriately remorseful for what happened there. And he denied Bilal the chance when he could have given him the chance, been the better fighter. And now, if he beats Nate Diaz, it's like, all right, fucking.
I mean, it's Nate. Listen,
I'm a very emotional guy. All of my decisions.
I kind of like it. You're like loyalty. I like that. I like that. I think part of what you're talking about though is that Bilal was a replacement to begin with, and I think Leon is so sick of his string of bad luck. But I understand what you're saying. The sort of martial arts thing to do would have been to get the immediate. But Bilal has a big fight tonight in Damian Maia. That's a nice spot for him.
Is it like? I mean,
that's a name. It's a big name.
It's a name. It's definitely a name. And it's really interesting too that they're like back to back on the card. You know, like. I just think that I don't think it's a loyalty issue. What I think it is just sort of an honor, you know? Like the honorable thing to do would have been like, hey man, that was totally an accident. I feel awful about it, and absolutely let's run that back. And he didn't do that, and I needed him to do that.
This is a side of you I'm not like overly familiar with, and I kind of like it. I kind of love it. Honor, respect.
Yeah, integrity.
Right. Jumping off of buildings and they all go together. Steve. I appreciate your time. We're about to have another fantastic fight kickoff between Lauren Murphy and Joanne Calderwood. I don't want to make you miss it, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Guys, keep it locked in right here. More quick hits coming your way, presented by Howlerhead.